Ladies and gentlemen and members of the public, the regular board meeting for SJCOG Thursday, April 24th, 2025 is now in session. All right, so let's do our pledge. This time I defer to Mr. Madam from Loda.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which stands one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Okay, roll call, please.
Mayor Akinjo,
Here, ma'am.
Mayor Ariola, Councilmember Craig, Supervisor Dollywall, Supervisor Ding, Councilmember Enriquez,
Present.
Mayor Fagazi, Councilmember Harrison,
Here.
Councilmember Ponce,
Here.
Supervisor Rickman, Mayor Singh,
Here.
Councilmember Stroman,
Here.
Councilmember Zuber.
Here.
We have a quorum, Chair.
All right. Thank you. All right. If I may introduce our Chief Executive Officer, Madam CEO, to speak briefly on one item that is important to all of us.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and board members. This indeed is a very important item. I'd like to ask Rosie Gutierrez, the clerk of the board, if you can stand next to me. It's a bittersweet moment for the COG staff, but I wanted to take this moment to recognize Rosie Gutierrez. She has been here with the Council of Governments for 21 years and will be retiring in early June. So we wanted to recognize her at this meeting and kind of say a few remarks about Rosie. Now, 21 years ago was December 2003, I believe. I was here when Rosie started work, and I know a few things about Rosie that I'd like to share. Good things, good things, good things, all good things.
Did you know about this?
Before Rosie came to the San Joaquin Council of Governments in 2003, she was a graduate of the Richard A. McGee Correctional Facility Training Center. And that graduation in the Galt facility enabled her to secure a job as a correctional officer working at the Soledad Correctional Facility for men. She was there for a few years before she came to the Council of Governments. And you wouldn't think it, but those were excellent skill sets she brought to the Council of Governments.
Wow.
She brought disciplined skills, steadfast adherence to structure, and strict orderliness and schedule timelines. And this is why Rosie, in her 21 years, excelled at COG. During her time, she started out as an office assistant. Then she was promoted to a senior office assistant. This led to the office administrator position. And then in the last few years, she was promoted to the clerk of the board. I have really enjoyed working with Rosie. She brings a great energy to the Council of Governments. She's represented this agency in a highly professional manner. In fact, many of the customers who come to the Council of Governments, they're greeted by Rosie and her team at the front desk. She has welcomed all the new staff at the agency. And frankly, there isn't a task that has been thrown at her that she hasn't handled with her usual patience, calm, and also just attitude of how she can help. Through her 21 years at the Council of Governments, I will say Rosie handled hundreds of staff reports, if not thousands, from the COG committees and this board of directors. Our success with providing public information to the residents of San Joaquin is possible through Rosie's dedication and hard work. And that will have a lasting impact on this agency, Rosie, so thank you. I'd like to ask the chair to come down and present Rosie with a little token from us for her 21 years of service at the San Joaquin Council of Governments, and the staff wishes her the very best in her exciting next chapter.
Okay, Rosie, I also have a few things to share, but this time is from other perspective. I've never met you until I didn't. We've been communicating through the city most of the time, but when Latrobe was now invited, yeah, then I met you. This is the real Rosie. Oh, thank you so much. But I was told from the reliable source that you are unable, you should not retire. I don't know who doesn't want you to retire, but it's from a personal source that Rosie should not be allowed to retire. So yeah. 21 years within this organization, that's a lot. That's a lot. I think, if I'm not mistaken, people that were born there in 2020, some of them are married now. So that's quite some time. So thank you for all your efforts. I think this particular organization will miss you because there's consistency is needed in the things that we do. When those people on the outside, they think we're just these magnificent individuals. But behind the scenes, a lot of work, including the chief executive officer. So we are grateful. Please, we have something to present to you. Okay. Oh, Rosie. You're dedicated to SJCOG has made a lasting impact that will be remembered for years to come. So hold it on top and at the bottom. So that it doesn't fall off. So, yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rosie.
Thank you, Diane, for the recognition, and thank you to the rest of my COG family and the board. I just want to say I'm grateful and blessed to have been with COG for 21 plus years. I'm going to miss it, but I'm ready for retirement. So thank you and God bless.
Oh, yeah, I will open it. Thank you, Rosie. Thank you, Madam CEO. As customarily done in our environment, any of the directors want to say something?
Yeah.
You're allowed to. Especially Leo. Leo, you are.
Already said all I'm going to say.
Well, when?
I'll say.
We were, okay, all right. He has said, okay. Mr. Singh, please.
Sure. Thank you, Rosie. You've been that one constant since I've been around in COG, and thank you for all your service. You know, I don't even know if my emails will still come in my email box anymore because I think all they know is Rosie from COG, so, you know, hopefully they're not going to spam anymore. But no, you've been awesome, and you really are that first sign inside of COG, even though there's a lot of other people that work here. You set the bar, so thank you for all your service.
Thank you, Director Singh. Yes, sir.
Rosie, I want to thank you for your 21 years, and staff has told me that you've always been very helpful and very easy to work with, and they wanted me to share their appreciation for your time at COG. So thank you.
Yes. Yes.
Just one thing I will say is discipline is another word that you're very good at disciplining us to make sure that we respond when we need to respond. And if I get a phone call from you, it's because I didn't respond. So that training that you got before you came here was exactly on point of what Diane said, because I know as a clerk that is a responsibility that you have, and very much appreciate you keeping us on track all the time. Thank you, thank you.
Yes, thank you, Ms. Gutierrez, for your service, and, you know, for someone that's only been on the Council of Governments for 4 months, and, you know, alongside Mayor Fugazi and Councilmember Ponce, you can feel the energy, you can feel the passion, you can feel the heart, and just love that people have in this room for you and what you've done. And, you know, even though from what I've seen, the emails you've sent me, you've been very detailed-oriented, and I feel this new generation doesn't really know the full details that it takes to do a job that you do, and that you are an example of, you know, of showcasing that to people and young people and people here. You know, when everyone here on my right stood up, you know, you felt that love, and you felt the loss that they're gonna have when you leave. But obviously we know that, you know, retirement's really important. We have to take care of each other. And, you know, while I just met you, I just want to say thank you for what you've done for this community and for Council of Governments, and I know it goes a long way, and I know a lot of us are gracious and grateful for your work, so thank you.
The congratulatory efforts will continue. Time down for public comments.
I have not received any public comments at this time, and this is a reminder to the public, if you'd like to be recognized to speak, please use the raise hand or chat feature in the Zoom.
Okay, I did receive a personal comment from one of the directors.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. I have some questions on an item that's not on the agenda. This would be SB 125. It's my understanding that the State Controller sent the first installment of SB 125 to COG like last August. When did COG actually receive the funds?
Well, as far as public comment, Mr. Director, they don't have to really give immediate answer to your questions, but they can reach out to you unless the CEO wants to answer the questions. Otherwise, it's a public comment, and you can reach out to, if that's the normal standard. I mean, Councilor, what do you think?
That's correct, Chair.
Okay, I'll just continue on. I presume it was sometime in September or maybe early October. In January, RTD transmitted the SB 125 fund transfer. January 13th, 2025, RTD sent their first invoice to COG for the first 2 quarters of FY25, July through December of 24. COG rejected the invoices, stating that they had to develop their own invoicing form. On March 4th, 2025, RTD submitted their reimbursement request for the first 2 quarters of FY25 using the COG's new form. As of today, no check has been issued to RTD for reimbursement of the first 2 quarters of FY25. On April 23rd, yesterday, RTD submitted the FY25 third quarter reimbursement request to COG. So my questions are, has any member agency received any funds? Second of all, what is the status of when the distributions may take place? And then the third question is, when did COG actually receive the funds to begin with? Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, sir. All right, moving right along. Any other members of the public has any comments? Board members? So, item number 4 is the consent calendar. I know usually we just approve at once, but I like to pull items C and D, if that is possible.
Would you like a motion to approve all items not pulled?
Yeah, we can do that too.
I'll do a motion to approve all items not pulled on the consent calendar.
Second.
Roll call for the items that were not pulled.
Mayor Akinjo,
Yes, ma'am.
Mayor Ariola,
Yes.
Councilmember Craig,
Yes.
Councilmember Enriquez,
Yes.
Councilmember Harrison,
Yes.
Councilmember Ponce,
Yes.
Mayor Singh,
Yes.
Councilmember Stroman,
Yes.
Councilmember Zuber.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay. So, Miss Lynette or Lynette? Oh, I'm sorry.
Lynetta, yeah, Castle.
Lynetta,
Yeah,
so if you can, I'm combining the two items.
yeah,
So if you can just shed some light
sure.
on,
I think your question was, why does RTD receive a large share of the LTF and the STA allocation?
that's correct.
Yeah,
CRD.
the LTF allocation is based on population, and there are board-approved agreements in place that gives RTD, the city of Stockton, and the unincorporated population of the county. It gives them those two populations, which basically gives them about a population of 400,000. So that gives them roughly half of the LTF allocation. The STA allocation is divided into two categories. The 99314 category, which is allocated directly from the state controller's office, and the 99313 category, which is up to COG to distribute. And it was agreed in, I believe it was fiscal year 18-19, that RTD and the rail would receive that portion based on ridership. And the rail and RTD receive all of the 99313 portion.
So, Ms. Lynetta, the question then is it customary to declare an entity population-wise? Because I think that was the thing that caught my attention, that RTD is an entity, but not a population related.
Right, so to give them an allocation, they had to come up with a formula, which was decided it would be the city of Stockton and the county's population. Otherwise, there wouldn't be an Article 4 or Article 8 allocation for them.
Okay, okay.
Because Stockton and the county both receive PED bike funds, so that doesn't affect any of the Article 4 or Article 8 allocation. RTD receives Article 4 allocation, which is based on the population.
So what happened if later, for instance, questions that idea that we are not considered population-wise in the appropriation? What would be your answer to that?
I really don't have an answer for that. I know that it's been board approved for quite some time, but it's something that can be looked at in the future, I suppose.
Yes, thank you so much
Okay,
for
sure.
your answers.
All
I
right.
think we are not going to beat the issue to
Okay.
death. Yeah, so-
Sure.
But I would just appeal to my colleagues that we need to be careful when we just summarily approve what is set before us without looking to some of the details in the agenda. This was something that was buried there, but this functionality that I was a little bit embarrassed until it is clarified to me today that an entity can be factored in an appropriation when it comes to budget allocations. I was a little bit taken aback by that, but it is what it is, so we have it, and it's not time to be making all those adjustments. But thank you, Lynette, thank you, board members and CEO for allowing me to bring that up. So what's the motion now on this C?
I'll make a motion to approve items 4C and 4D.
All right, roll call, please.
Mayor Akinjo,
Yes, ma'am.
Mayor Ariola,
Yes.
Councilmember Craig,
Yes.
Councilmember Enriquez,
Yes.
Councilmember Harrison,
Yes.
Councilmember Ponce,
Yes.
Mayor Singh,
Yes.
Councilmember Stroman,
Yes.
Councilmember Zuber.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you, ma'am. No action items, and so was discussion time, so item number 6A.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. We'll have a presentation up. Good afternoon, board members and members of the public. Staff will be presenting an information item for discussion only on the Measure K Urgent Needs Assessment process. So here is an outline of staff's presentation. Staff will give the board a quick recap of the board's direction that led us here, provide an overview of the project submittals received in the urgent needs assessment. Next, present initial observations from staff on the information received from partner agencies. And then lastly, identify key thoughts for board discussion and seek board interest in having staff collect board comments and engage the executive committee on recommended next steps in the process. But before we walk through the timeline of the steps that brought us here today, wanted to ground us in the guiding principles written directly into the COG bylaws, specifically the equitable and balanced allocation of resources in support of regional collaboration. So Article 2, Section F of the COG bylaws, which defines our purpose, reminds us that collaboration isn't just something we strive for, it is a core responsibility. In a setting where regional needs almost always outpace available resources, our integrity as an MPO rests on creating fair, transparent processes that allow every eligible agency an opportunity to be heard, considered, and supported. So that's why we're here today, not to pre-decide outcomes, but to set conditions for fairness and to carry out our role as a board of representatives from across the region who can work together to make collaborative decisions. So staff wanted to take a moment to remind the board of the events that led up to today. January 23rd, 2025, the COG board directed the executive committee to recommend a process in response to new information about a $128 million cash balance in the Measure K program. At the March 27th board meeting, the COG board adopted the Measure K strategic plan update and directed staff to assess urgent project needs aligning with specific criteria. Those criteria were that a project must be Measure K eligible, there must be urgency within the next 2 years, project would have a justified need for a one-time infusion of funding, projects do not incur ongoing costs, projects do not supplant existing funds, submittals demonstrate that there's little or no other funding available, and that we are able to verify that a project need is shown in agency planning documentation. Next, the next day after the March board meeting, staff reached out to partner agencies as directed and set a deadline of April 14th for urgent needs submissions. Today, COG staff is presenting the self-reported project information received from our partner agencies in response to the board's request. So a listing of the project submittals received is provided in the staff report, broken down by Measure K funding category. There you'll find that the City of Mountain House highlighted multiple needs fitting in multiple categories. San Joaquin County and the City of Stockton submitted needs under the Regional Arterials Program. The Regional Rail Commission submitted a need under the rail transit category, and Escalon, Lathrop, and RTD submitted requests under the bus transit-related categories. So in terms of initial observations from staff on the information received, first we wanted to make a point that we see the need to clarify that this is not new money. This is not to be considered new money in the Measure K program. Rather, it reflects Measure K revenue that has not yet been committed to specific projects. It is part of a reserve and remains unprogrammed. As always, Measure K funds must be allocated through an action by this board in alignment with the voter-approved Measure K expenditure plan. The next insight was that information provided by partners will need to be validated against as meeting the board's criteria. So staff has questions about several of the project submissions and will need to follow up for clarification. And then lastly, staff wants to clarify that meeting the criteria is not an automatic guarantee of funding, as the board retains the authority to determine funding allocations, if any. Next, as it relates to categories that are allocated by formula, we want to share that Measure K funding for programs like the Regional Arterial Program, Bike and Ped Program, Local Street Repair Program, and Passenger Rail is distributed directly to agencies on a formula basis. That means over the 30-year life of Measure K, an agency's formula share will be fulfilled. So, if an agency is granted any of this uncommitted revenue early, it will count against their existing formula share. In other words, this isn't new money being added to the program. Rather, it's a chance for agencies to request board approval to access their future funding earlier to move eligible projects forward now. As an example, let's say a city is projected to receive $30 million in Measure K funds for regional arterials over the life of the program. And right now that city happens to have a project that is ready to go that costs $5 million, but they don't currently have enough Measure K dollars in their short-term cash flow to begin that project. Using this uncommitted revenue would be like giving them an advance on their $30 million slice of the pie. If the COG board approves, the city could use that $5 million now, but it would be counted against their $30 million total, and they'd have $25 million remaining in the future formula share. And the reverse is also true for agencies that may want to delay their projects into later years. So again, this is not new money, it's just allowing them access to what's already theirs sooner or later based on project readiness and eligibility. Funding in the Measure K program for the bus transit categories is allocated at the discretion of the COG board following fulfillment of minimum funding guarantees for Ripon, Escalon, and RTD. Unlike other categories such as the regional arterials, bike ped, or local street and road repair, which include the formula shares, projects in the bus transit category have been individually reviewed and approved by the board, and the board would need to define a process to make any decisions within this category. And then so lastly, considerations for the board's discussion today as it relates to a board or executive committee guidance on project submittal validation. Staff is asking, would the board like the executive committee to guide staff in developing a process for validating information from agencies to determine how well their proposed project submittals meet the approved evaluation criteria? Staff would then return with findings indicating whether each project submittal qualifies based on that review. Next, in terms of an approach for the formula-based categories, for agencies requesting funding in categories established with established formula shares, that again being the regional arterials or the bike ped or passenger rail categories, staff can prepare cash flow scenarios to explore what amounts would be advanced now while still maintaining a prudent reserve. This could provide a pathway for action at the June board meeting. And then in terms of next steps for the bus transit category, would the board like staff to return in June with an analysis of which project submittals meet the criteria, and if so, a recommendation for how funding allocation should be determined? So before I conclude this presentation, I want to return to that foundational idea that I noted at the start. Collaboration's not just a value, it's our mandate, and the process we've laid out today reflects that commitment to fairness, transparency, and shared decision-making. We appreciate your thoughtful engagement and are happy to answer any questions you may have.
Questions, Board, for Mr. Niblock?
Mr. Chair?
Yes, Madam Craig.
Can you define a prudent reserve? I mean, that would seem to me you'd want to establish some percentage, or whether it's total, you know, I just would like a better definition on what is a prudent reserve.
Well, we don't have a definition. We're hoping to be able to shape that through collaboration with the executive committee.
And that's fine. I just want to know that discussion's going to happen, so, because that does demonstrate to us, okay, so how much funding do we have to deal with if we want to maintain that prudent reserve? So that's all I had, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Madam Craig. Any other questions? Yes, sir.
Mr. Niblock, you had referenced the January 23rd staff report, and there are dollar amounts listed as approximately based on the various categories and so forth. Are those values, are those funding allocations still about the same? Have they been firmed up? Have they increased, decreased?
Those are the dollar figures we're talking about.
Okay, so approximately is?
Approximately those amounts, yeah.
Okay, it's no longer approximately then? Or do you still?
We're working from those amounts.
Okay. Have we passed a deadline for submittal of projects?
So we set a deadline of April 14th for the submission of urgent needs that met that list of criteria. We did receive, I believe, five or six projects from RTD.
Okay, but is the door still open for people to submit additional projects?
So we, coming out of the March meeting, staff took the direction as to move quickly. Yes. Diane, do I have that right?
Yes, Diane Nguyen. The board gave us direction to move quickly, and so we did that. And we did set a deadline within 2 weeks of the board action to send us your urgent needs. I would say the door is always open for staff to consider Measure K projects specific to this urgent needs assessment. That'll be up to the executive committee to consider any additional projects, but we're looking at the projects right now that have come in by that April 14th deadline.
Okay, I'm just referring to a footnote on page 141, and it says, although the City of Tracy staff did not submit projects, the city let SJCOG staff know during the Measure K strategic plan process that the city will want the opportunity to participate in any future funding allocation process for Measure K. So does that mean that they can still, after the deadline, can still submit projects?
I think I took that as saying, if anything happens in the future relative to something like what we're doing now, Tracy doesn't want to be ignored. I didn't read that as saying they are holding a door open for them that allows them to get in here anytime they want to. And speaking for the executive committee, I don't think they get very far if they ask to get in at this point. We're trying to move this thing forward, and if it keeps moving around and has a moving target every month, we'll never get anything done.
So does staff agree with that observation?
Say
That's
we're-
consistent, sorry, Ryan, that is consistent with how staff interpreted the City of Tracy's comment. We merely wanted to mention that was received during our process.
Okay, and then just for clarification, once the projects have been determined, will those projects come back to this board for approval?
The projects will have to come back to the COG board for approval because the COG board is the only body that will approve any Measure K funding to a project.
Okay, thank you very much.
Mr. Chair? May I ask a question?
Yes, of course. You are.
This is obviously my first meeting representing the great residents of Escalon, but in your presentation, I mean, the timeline looked somewhat tight, and you noted that the next steps are to review the criteria to make sure that they meet the guidelines set forth by this board. Because of those tight deadlines, if there is additional information that is requested from the municipalities that submitted an urgent project, will those municipalities be given the opportunity to provide additional information to the executive committee to make those decisions?
Absolutely, that was the intent. So one of the points in the presentation was to note that staff has more questions of our own. Certainly, if the board has any questions, or if the executive committee has any questions, we want to bring those questions back to our partner agencies so that they can help provide responses.
Because we all know when you're dealing with tight deadlines, you try to get everything into that packet. But if something's missing, and if there's something that doesn't necessarily 100% meet the criteria, I would hate to see one of the urgent projects get kicked out because they're missing some follow-up information that could be provided via an addendum or something to their application.
Understood.
Mr. Niblock. Well, I think in one of the presentations, in your presentation rather, the questions the gentleman is asking, you're going to reach out. You already reached out once. You have questions of your own to our partners, right?
That's right.
And you're going to question them, give them an opportunity for clarification. Because I think that's what the gentleman wants to.
Right. So that's exactly the intent. So what we've shared here, this is essentially staff just transferring the information to you.
Okay.
Without much in the way of comment from COG staff. So our intent is to gather our questions for clarification and to take any questions that you may have and to reach out to those project managers to try and get clarification.
Okay. Because I don't want a conflict between Mr. Giovanni. I'm sorry if I mispronounce your name. So we are not asking, it's not going to be a new submission. It's going to be a clarification on the project that has already been submitted. Is that some logical interpretation?
That's right. That's our intent.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other question? Yes, sir.
Thank you. I know we spoke earlier, but can you just, for the record, just explain a little bit more why the Byron Highway widening project did not meet a Measure K fund project?
Certainly. So what we're referring to here is on the first page of the staff report. There's a project submission from the City of Mountain House, the Byron Highway Widening Project. There is a note from COG staff written in that this is not a Measure K project. And what that is highlighting is that whether you have a regional arterial project or a state highway project, these are projects that were listed on the ballot when San Joaquin residents went to vote in 2006. So in order for a project to receive funding under either of those two categories, they need to have been entered into Measure K. So those projects that were on the ballot, they went in right on the front end. In order for Byron Highway to be included, it would need to be amended into the Measure K ordinance and expenditure plan, which could be done in 2026, to make it an eligible use of funds. So that's what that text is meant to highlight, is that there is an administrative step that needs to happen for Byron Highway to be included.
Thank you for the clarification.
Certainly.
Any other questions? Mr. Niblock, on Council Member Craig, Madam Craig, rather, the prudence, yes, like you said, we have no definition. But you did mention that, let's assume I want to defer my project. Let's assume you approve the project. I know it's going to count against my share of allocations, but I want to defer it. Is that under the prudence thing you are talking about, savings, or what?
I think we may be talking about slightly different things here. Board Member Craig, correct me if I'm wrong. I think what you were asking was about how much money to keep in reserve versus to assign to any of these projects.
Yes.
And so what's prudent to keep in reserves? I think staff's point of view is we'd like to give the executive committee options, a menu to choose from, and to take direction from the executive committee and the board, and to not have staff identify what is prudent, to give you the options and to have you decide.
Mr. Chair, if I can add to that.
Yes, ma'am.
A prudent cash reserve is a general term that talks about fund balance. What is in the Measure K program fund account today in terms of dollars? That fund balance, i.e. prudent cash reserve, whatever the amount is, will fluctuate depending on the projected drawdown in the next year, the next 2 or 3 years. So it's not a off-the-wall number that we keep in that fund balance. It is a number that is created from cash flow scenarios based on expected expenditure and outflow, and is also a number that's created on projected inflow from Measure K revenue. And so because of that, it's not just a simple pull out of the air number to keep as a prudent cash reserve. It depends on those factors. And so when Ryan is talking about a presentation of different scenarios, those scenarios will give a sensitivity reading on the different levels of inflow and outflow that may affect that fund balance, and what this board may want to choose conservatively to keep in the Measure K, informally saying, bank account.
If I might, Mr. Chair?
Yes, ma'am.
I agree with that approach, and we had given it to the executive committee to come up with that. I think it's very much like any long-range financial forecasting. You know, you anticipate for inflation, you anticipate for recessions on cycles. And so that's the type of thing, I think, with the long history that SJCOG has had in terms of managing funds, I would expect recommendations, the various ones, as you stated, Diana, come in, and based on what experience you've already had with these long-range forecasts. So I tend to look to past to kind of give a better sense for the future, and but also understand how the markets have been working. It's a little bit volatile right now, but at the same time, we look at the 10-year, we look out and realize where we've been and where we may be going. So I'm fine with the prudent reserve language, because there's really no way to say, oh, it's going to be 3% or 8% or what. You've got to use that long-range forecasting. So thank you.
Okay, anybody else? So finally, Mr. Niblock, on this formula that you use in sharing the Measure K, is there any of your partner has any balance?
Balances of
You say that's a formula that you use before you can count anything against me. Before you can say, okay, well, you spend $1 million already out of your allocation of 3 million. So is there any way of finding out what my balance is or what I can do or that follow? I'm just wondering.
We can provide that information for you out of the regional arterial category, the extent to which Lathrop has drawn down funds versus what's left.
Okay, yeah, it's not really.
We'll need to follow up.
Yeah, I'm just curious about the formula, that's all. So, thank you. There's nobody else, then say thank you, Mr. Nibla. Item number 6B, rather, 6B, receive information on the San Joaquin Regional Mobility Hub Plan.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Lauren Battalius, Principal Analyst on the Planning Team at SJCOG. Thank you for the opportunity today to present an update on the San Joaquin Regional Mobility Hub Plan and Demonstration Project. Next slide, please. In your packets, you'll find two key documents that we partnered with Transito and Fair and Peers to produce. The first is the final Mobility Hub Plan, which outlines a regional network of 42 recommended mobility hubs near affordable housing in the region. It's 147 pages, so hopefully you'll enjoy it with a strong cup of coffee or a beverage of your choice. And number two is the Demonstration Project Action Plan Memo, which details site improvements for 3 potential demonstration locations: downtown Lodi, the Robert J. Cabral Station, and the Tracy Transit Station. After a detailed evaluation, which you'll find in your packet, the Tracy Transit Station has been selected for the demonstration project, which is a permanent infrastructure improvement serving as a model for future hubs in the region. Next slide. So what is a mobility hub? We understand it as a central point where different modes of transportation, buses, ride share, micromobility, like bike share, car share, connect in one convenient, accessible location. They include features like benches, greenery, art, and wayfinding, signage, to create a sense of place, not to mention that it is a community asset with the potential to attract investment. They also reduce reliance on cars, which helps reduce congestion in your communities, vehicle miles traveled, or VMT as we call it, a measure of how much people are driving. Mobility hubs help address the last mile problem, making it easier to get to a transit stop, to get to your final destination, and encouraging healthier, low-emission travel options that gets us closer to California's required emissions goals. Feedback we heard again and again during the community engagement we conducted was that a lack of nearby transit or difficulty getting to and from the station is why people do not use alternative modes of transportation. Next slide, please. The vision behind this effort is to create a network that supports affordable housing and reduces driving by connecting residents to reliable transportation. This project was funded by the California Department of Housing and Community Development through Regional Early Action Planning Grants, or REAP 2.0. Its goals include supporting infill housing near transit, reducing vehicle miles traveled, and strengthening the connectivity of the region. We've completed the planning phase, as I mentioned, and we're now entering implementation. Planning that included data analysis, site scoring, and community and partner agency input, including the staff at all of your jurisdictions. And each hub is planned within 1/2 mile of current or planned affordable housing development. Next slide. Community engagement was a core part of this process, and it will continue to be throughout the life of the project. We launched a survey, conducted site visits with San Joaquin Regional Climate Collaborative, and will continue outreach through pop-ups, workshops, and extensive business engagement this spring and summer in the city of Tracy. We assessed the 3 finalist sites based on transit ridership, including corporate shuttle demand, potential for reduction of vehicle miles traveled, and site readiness. Tracy stood out as the best fit after an in-depth analysis and feedback from staff at your cities. Tracy already has excellent infrastructure, so we thought it would make a great test case. Initial recommendations for Tracy included enhanced transit infrastructure, pedestrian and micromobility upgrades, parking improvements, and place-making elements like shade and seating. Cost estimates are in the action plan. However, specific design and budget details are still being finalized with the City of Tracy. Next slide. We're not just planning. We're also working on how to fund and build this network. SJCOG will be actively seeking funding for site-specific planning and implementation. Cities are also already considering how to fund the projects directly. In the regional plan, you'll find comprehensive, in-depth guidance and insights for how to fund this network. Mountain House, we're happy to know that Mountain House has already submitted their project for federal funding, and it is part of an ask on the One Voice list headed to DC this May. Future hubs may also reduce environmental impacts for new development projects by offering more travel options, which helps meet state environmental requirements for new development. Next slide. So next steps, we're currently finalizing site design and permitting with the City of Tracy. Community engagement is ongoing. As I mentioned, we'll be out in the community shortly. Construction is scheduled to be finalized June 2026, with the hub opening next summer. And this wraps up, next slide, our update on the Regional Mobility Hubs Plan and Demonstration Project. I look forward to working with your cities to bring these hubs to life. And I'm happy to take any questions or talk online in the future if you want to dive into the plan.
But question for Ms. Lauren?
Mr. Chair?
Yes, ma'am.
This is a wonderful process, and it does put me in mind, Lodi is in the midst of its downtown-specific plan, and obviously the mobility hub in our transit center and our goals to have affordable housing in our downtown area fits this perfectly. So we do look forward to working with you, and I will make sure that our downtown-specific plan calls out the opportunity for a mobility hub. It takes projects like this and opportunities coming forward to remind us that we have options out there for the future and partnerships to work with SJCOG on something like this. So thank you for the presentation.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Any? Okay, Ms. Lauren, I just have one question. I'm familiar with the Tracy Transit, as some of the members here. Parking is an issue. Are you planning on expanding and where or relocating the current? I think they have access to maybe at the most, just guessing, maybe 35 cars at a time. Is the current parking in that area?
Yes. I'm sorry, sir. May I have a little bit of clarification on your question? It could just be the time of day, but are you asking if we plan to expand parking?
Yes.
At this time, we don't plan to expand parking at the Tracy Transit Station. That's not part of this particular project, but we continue to improve their elements around the park and ride to make it easier to access. That will be part of the plan, and we're still working out those details with the City of Tracy. But no, we will not be expanding parking.
Okay, I'm just saying something to look forward to if you want to encourage the people to take the public transportation. You might want to look towards expanding or doing something with the parking.
Thank you
so
for
much.
that feedback.
All right, thanks.
Thank you. Other questions? Thank you.
Mr. Chair, information items don't require a presentation unless requested by any board member.
It's always interesting to have a shares report. In case people are wondering, I know it's not really noticeable. Many of the board members are in Sacramento. Many of the directors are in Sacramento for the League of Cal Cities. Some are joining us online, so. But congratulations to the Housing Authority of the County of San Joaquin for ribbon cutting for Calvera's quarters on April the 3rd. I wasn't there, but Calvera's quarters is a converted motel that now provide a 69-unit permanent and supporting housing development and vital services for transitional age young adults and at-risk families in San Joaquin County. I know the Vice Chair Fugazi was there, and Board Member Enrique was there, and Executive Director, our CEO was there. All spoke at the event. And residents will have access to 15 or so bike Stockton electric pedal assisted bicycle there also. So while the Sustainability and Transportation Equity Project implementation grant from the California Air Resource Board ended in December, the Stockton Mobility Collective programs continue to help residents in this region. So thank you, Vice Mayor Madam Fugazi and your council and our CEO for attending, unless you want to expand on your visit or recommendation, if there's none. So thank you. So that concludes my report. Board members report? None? Why not? Leo has something. Oh, you see, that's the only thing Mr. Leo is concerned. That's the only thing Mr. Leo is. Yes, Director Enrique, please.
I'll just share with Ms. Gutierrez, the fact that we are going to miss you. We do appreciate when you do email us the agenda beforehand and all the minutes, and I know the staff works hard. And just a friendly reminder that, colleagues, let's just make sure that when we do get the agenda, let's just take our time to really read through the agenda, ask all of our questions, and that way we can be fully prepared when we have to make decisions and votes. So again, let's take the time and effort to go through the agenda. That way we don't have to ask unnecessary questions. So Rosie, we're going to miss you, and thank you for the email that you sent out to staff. So we appreciate you.
All right. Thank you, Director Enrique. Any other members of the board? Ex officio board members report.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd like to start with our first place gold award. I'd like to share that 17 regional transit districts recently received 2 national first place gold awards from the American Public Transportation Association in 25. RTD was recognized for the following honors: 2025 Bus Safety Gold Award for transit agencies with fewer than 3 million annual passenger trips. 2025 Bus Security Gold Award for transit agencies within 23 million. Presented each year at ASTA, annual Bus and Paratransit Conference, each awards highlight transit agencies that go above and beyond to protect drivers, employees, and families. So what sets RTD apart? Over the past year, we have introduced new safety initiatives, expanded our safety department, enhanced employee training, made facility improvements focused on reducing risk. These efforts are part of a broader strategy to strengthen public trust and create a secure transit experience for everyone in our community.
Excuse me, member, could you please move the mic closer?
These awards are a reflection of the dedication shown by every RTD department, from operations and facilities to maintenance. Does the light need to be on? Oh, that's, because there's a sign up here that says mics are live. These awards are a reflection of the dedication shown by every RTD department, from operations and facilities to maintenance and administration. Our team works together to keep safety and security at the core of everything we do. We've honored we're honored by this national recognition and grateful to the employees whose efforts made it possible. RTD's first Metro Market. On April 4th, RTD hosted its first ever Metro Market at the Downtown Transit Center. The event featured 30 exhibitors, including community-based organizations. We also had participation from San Joaquin Regional Rail, CSU Stanislaus, Delta College, arts and craft exhibitors, face painters, food vendors, coffee carts, and music. The event was well received, with attendees expressing positive feedback throughout the day. Social media engagement was strong as vendors shared posts and tagged RTDs, amplifying the event's reach. Food vendors reported a positive experience and found the event to be profitable. A noticeable number of local employees from nearby downtown businesses stopped by, sharing that the event was a welcome addition to the area. Both vendors and attendees expressed enthusiasm about returning, with comments such as, "It brought energy to downtown," and "It felt like the community was connected." Overall, the Metro Market brought a sense of vibrancy and positivity to RTD and the downtown Stockton community. And finally, you all have received an invitation to our bus wrap unveiling, commemorating for astronaut Jose M. Hernandez, a local product in our community. The flyer has all the information. Thank you.
Thank you. Caltrans District 10, Madam Grace Mexia.
Good afternoon. I'm Gregoria Ponce, Caltrans Deputy for Planning, Local Assistance, and Environmental. Grace sends her regards as she was not able to attend this evening. And I do have a few items to share. I hope everyone can hear me okay. Thank you. First wanted to share that at this time it's been announced that our Caltrans director, Tony Tavares, will be retiring, I believe, at the end of this month. And so we are transitioning with that move, and more to follow on that. I do have a few items to share. Under our Clean California Community Days, Caltrans, in a community with businesses, local residents, community groups, as part of keeping California communities clean and beautiful, our maintenance crews were out the last part of April in San Joaquin County picking up litter and removing debris on State Route 12, 88, 99, and we're also out on Interstate 5 and 205. Outside of these activities, we'll continue to pick up debris and litter throughout the county. In light of federal policy changes through the federal administrative and executive orders, Caltrans, through our Office of Division of Local Assistance, is in the process of updating the Local Assistance Procedures Manual to reflect excuse me, recently issued federal executive orders, which rescinded previous executive orders relating to several environmental topics, including environmental justice and climate change, and those affected manual chapters, forms, and exhibits and templates will be soon updated and made available to our partners. Under funding, we do have some notices. Federal Highway Administration has released a call for applications under its Safe Streets and Roads for All program to improve roadway safety by significantly reducing or eliminating roadway fatalities and serious injuries through safety action plan development, and refinement and implementation focused for all users, including pedestrian, bicyclists, public transportation users, motorists, personal conveyance, micro-mobility users, and commercial vehicle operators. There's approximately $982 million available for funding with a deadline of June 26, 2025. The California Energy Commission, under its Changing Interoperability and Collaboration Program for Vehicle Grid Integration, is also issued a call for applications to invest in infrastructure that advances and prepares for widespread vehicle grid integration. The deadline is June 4th with available funding of approximately $4 million. Under our plan development, the State Route 99 Comprehensive Multimodal Corridor Plan continues. The Plan recently completed a second round of public outreach workshops. At this time, review of subject matter expert resolutions list is complete, and traffic models are currently being refined for various scenarios. And the draft document will be available soon for, again, MPO review and comments. I have no other items to share at this time if anyone has any questions for me. Thank you.
All right, Mr. Beals, please.
Thank you. Port remains a busy place. For the month of March, we handled 249,000 metric tons. It was about 2% below the volume for the prior month of February. However, it was about 7% higher than what we experienced March of '24.
Member Trezza, I'm sorry to interrupt, is your microphone on? Or if you can speak closer to the microphone?
Sorry. Did you catch any of that?
Can you start over?
All right. Port remains busy. For the month of March, we handled 249,000 metric tons. It was about 2% lower than the prior month in February, but 7% higher in volume than a year ago, March 24. I'll share some of the highlights with you. We had 18 vessel visits versus 19 in February. Of the volume, dry bulk represented 118,000 tons, predominantly cement, very little coal in there. Liquid bulk was 92,000 metric tons, most of it acids and food stock. And then general cargo was 46,000 metric tons, which was sugar and steel. So that concludes my report. If there are no questions, Rosie, I'd like to say thank you for everything. Good luck and good health in your retirement. Bless you.
Our Executive Director's report.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and board members. I just have several things to update the board on. The One Voice delegation is nearing 90 people, which is probably the biggest we've ever had. Last year was around 70. So good news travels fast, and a lot of people want to make sure they don't miss out on the opportunities to advocate as one voice for transportation projects and regional priorities in the San Joaquin region. The trip, as a reminder, will be May 19th through 21, Monday through Wednesday, and we will be hitting the ground hard and working very diligently, meeting with congressional staff and key administration officials to talk about the program of projects that have been adopted by this board for the One Voice advocacy trip. Speaking of federal agencies, there were several federal agencies here at the San Joaquin Council of Governments as part of our 4-year federal certification renewal. One of the hats that the COG wears is the hat of the Metropolitan Planning Organization, the MPO. In this hat, it is a federal designation that we secure and has to be certified every 4 years. So we had representatives from Federal Transit Administration and Federal Highway Administration going through all the programs at the San Joaquin Council of Governments, and we'll be looking forward to their certification report, which they are targeting to come out in as early as June. On a different note, I wanted to remind the board, for those of you who were on the board last year, in the fall, ValLink representatives came to the COG board to discuss project needs for the ValLink project. One of the items discussed at the board was an interest to have ValLink return to the Council of Governments when this new board was in place to hear the latest information on the project. Staff has been in communication with the Valley Link Executive Director CEO since the beginning of the year, and Valley Link is preparing to come to this COG board at your June 26th board meeting with a full presentation on the latest information and developments on the Valley Link project. They asked for this June date because they're working very diligently on some latest estimates and developments on the project, and wanted to give this board the best information possible. So June 26th is when Valley Link staff will be here to provide an information report and presentation on the status of that project and address any questions from the board. That concludes my report. Also, just want to say, Rosie, yeah, I don't want, before this meeting, she said she would not cry. Now she's going to make everyone cry, but there's just no words to say what a good person Rosie is and what a joy it has been working with her all these years. I just am so lucky to have the opportunity to know Rosie. So thank you, Rosie.